everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has just held his press conference. This is a pre-recorded show on a Wednesday afternoon. Tomorrow evening, United host Roma in the first leg of the semi-final of the Europa League. Ole had Luke Shaw with him. Luke Shaw was asked about his form this season and how well he's playing, and does he think he's been how much he's been assisted by the manager to get where he is today. And he did say that the manager's helped him a lot. And he also added, as they always do, I'm not just saying that because he's sitting there, but maybe he is just saying that because he's sitting there. It's always a possibility. But he was asked quite a few questions, Luke Shaw. I was more interested really in the questions that were being asked of the manager. Obviously, the main reason I look to it is to find out if there's any further injury news, which there isn't really any injury news. He said Marcus is fit again. He mentioned Marcus having back problems, shoulder problems, and a recent foot injury, but saying everything's fine and he's fit for tomorrow. Obviously, Anthony Martial's still out and Phil Jones is still out, and I think that was about that. So I'll have a stab at the end of this. After I've spoken about the rest of the questions, I'll have a stab at what I think the team will be. But first of all, Ollie was asked about the fact that Roma fans in particular, and it's also rumoured that people within the club are a bit upset with the fact that he was asked a question about if he's watched Roma, and it was just after the game, and he said I hadn't watched him, and he said I didn't really mean that I hadn't watched him. I've seen him a few times, and I think he had dealt with the question really well. He said obviously I've watched him numerous times, but it was just after the game. I had my mind on that game and what had just happened. He said, and then obviously since we've drawn him, he says I've watched him many times, and funnily enough, anybody who's watched my shows regularly will know that I always say that you need to watch games not just live, but you need to watch them again to be able to see what's actually going on in the game. And Ollie did say that he's really studied them down to the ground since they've had the draw and knowing that we're actually playing them. So he basically said that he'd watched them, but hadn't really watched them in depth when he was asked that question. And I get where he's coming from, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable answer. It was also a nice touch that he said what a great club they are and what a proud tradition they've got, and how proud he is to be the owner of shirts that he's swapped with Roma players in the past. He said at home he's got a Totti shirt and a De Rossi shirt that he's swapped in the games when he's played against Roma, and he said he's proud to own those shirts, and they're signed and he's got them safely tucked away at home. So I thought he dealt with that quite well. He was asked about the demonstration at Old Trafford last weekend and his relationship with the owners. He said his relationship with the owners is really good, but went on to sort of say that he managed to twist it around, that he was then talking about the game coming up. He basically said that he's had a good relationship with the owners and that we've got this really big game coming up, and he wants to get through to this final, and obviously it's all about winning trophies. So he very neatly sidestepped the bit about the demonstration and didn't really say anything about it. Well, he didn't say anything about it whatsoever. Eric Bailly was mentioned. I found this quite interesting. It was said that obviously they've just given Eric Bailly a new contract. Again, anybody who's watched the show regularly will know that I'm often saying that Lindelof and Maguire are United's best two centre-backs. Lots of people think Bailey is one of United's best centre-backs, and I think he's too erratic. I don't think he's quite smart enough on the ball. I know he can do some tricks. I've seen him do a Cruyff turn in his own penalty area, but that's not good. I'm not a fan of you of one of his centre-backs doing a Cruyff turn in his own penalty area. So even when he did something really good, I wasn't really impressed with it. So he was asked about Bailey, and this was what I found very interesting. He did say that he wears his heart on his sleeve. He gets stuck in. He gets in great block tackles, but he added this. He said, but he's also improving with the ball and with his build-up play. Now then, there's no point beating about the bush. There's no point denying that if he's saying, but he is improving with the ball and with his build-up play, there's no point denying that they're not very happy with his ability on the ball and his build-up play. There isn't, is there? Surely that's what he's saying, he's getting better at that. In other words, I think he's inferring that if he improves more with the ball, he might have a chance of getting more games. But surely that's a pointer as to what I've been saying all along. The other two players are just better players. You know, Bailey might be a bit quicker, might be a bit stronger. You could even argue he's a bit braver, all these sort of things. But actual ability as a footballer, I've always banged on that Maguire and Lindelof are the pick of the three centre-backs that we've got. Obviously, we've got others. But of the three that really get chances to play in the first team. And Ole really has just basically said the same thing. You know, he's improving with the ball and with his build-up play. In other words, I think you can read between the lines and say that's why he doesn't get very many starts, because he's not good enough with the ball or with his build-up play. So I thought that was very interesting. It's very difficult when a manager gets asked questions. He don't want it to sound as though he's criticising a player. He's talking about him improving, but I can't remember how much Bailey cost, and he's also not a particularly young player now. You know, if you're playing for Manchester United, you should be good with the ball at your feet, and your build-up play should be good. You know, you shouldn't really be saying he's improving with the ball at his feet and improving in his build-up play. But that is what he said. Quite a funny moment as well. It made me laugh when Luke Shaw. One of the things that was asked of Luke Shaw was how he felt when he wasn't playing and United were reaching finals, particularly the Europa League final, since this is Europa League. And Luke Shaw dealt with the question well, saying he said that as much as he was really pleased for his teammates, he was really pleased for the club. He said it isn't the same when you're not playing, and you know, he felt a little bit down. Perhaps he might not have said those words, but he obviously said it wasn't the same when you're not playing, as much as he was pleased for his teammates. And the bit that made me chuckle, he said, but he said, obviously, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because I am involved now and I will be playing in the game tomorrow, or words to that effect. And then when Ole was on, one of the questions to Ole about who was fit and who was likely to start, the journalist said, well, obviously Luke Shaw's already said that he's starting. Is there any other clues, type of thing? And Ole said, I was going to ask Luke if he's picked the team already. So whether Luke's assuming that he's playing, I mean, he could just be tongue-in-cheek, or whether he's been told that they're playing already. Surely Luke Shaw will play, but I thought it was a good answer by Ole. I was going to ask Luke if he's picked the team already. To the team, the fitness of everybody. Marcus is fit. He'll surely play. He plays every game. So does that mean one of Fred will get a rest and Paul might play in the centre? I don't think so. It's a semi-final. He's desperate to win it. Whenever we play a big game, it's McTominay and Fred. I know Roma might not be Manchester City or Liverpool. I mean, Chelsea are looking good now in the Champions League, but when we played Chelsea, they weren't as good as that. They were probably more like Roma, and so are Arsenal, more like Roma. So whenever we play a proper decent, I know Chelsea have come on now and they're more than proper decent, but you know, whenever we play really good teams or the proper decent sides, it's McTominay and Fred, and Roma are up at that level. Roma are like Chelsea were 6 months ago, or like Arsenal were 3 or 4 months ago, or even as Arsenal are now. I wouldn't like to put my money on who'd get through if Roma were playing Arsenal, and just like I wouldn't really put my money on United against Roma. Really, I think United will win, but is it my heart ruling my head? So I do think it will be McTominay and Fred. I don't see him changing that. So the team that I think he'll go with, he was asked about the goalkeeping situation, of course, and said that he's the luckiest manager in the world to have two such top-class goalkeepers. But I'm pretty confident that De Gea will come back in goal. I do think it'll be the back four that he normally goes with: Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. And then I think it'll be McTominay and Fred. I think Bruno will be at number 10. I think Pogba will play on the left. And I think Marcus will play on the right, which isn't his best position, although I thought he did okay on the right last time he played. is less likely to cut in and shoot with his left foot than he is to cut in and shoot with his right foot. And a lot of people like it that he cuts in and shoots with his right foot, but because he's on that side, he does it too often for me and shoots when he shouldn't be shooting far too often. And that's not going to happen so much playing on the right. So I just think there's a chance that he might do better playing on the right and Pogba on the left. That is how I think it'll be. McTominay and Fred, Bruno at 10, Pogba left, Marcus on the right. At number 9, will he leave Mason out? Was Cavani left out just in order to make sure he was fit for Thursday night? He came on for 5 minutes when we needed a goal against Leeds. If he can only do 5 minutes, which I doubt that's the case, I'm astonished. Look, if he can do more, I can't get the answer to this. If he can do more than 5 minutes, it's astonishing he wasn't brought on for more than 5 minutes. We needed a goal. Why didn't Cavani come on with 20 minutes to go? It's astonishing that he wasn't brought on with at least 20 minutes to go. So is he not fit to do 20 minutes? Surely he's fit to do 20 minutes. But if he wasn't fit to do 20 minutes, then he's surely not fit to start. You know, he's likely to be a sub again and get 10 minutes. Or this is the other possibility. Was Cavani simply left out of the team so that he didn't get injured and didn't get a knock? You know, was he actually fit on Sunday to play a full game? But they didn't want to risk him because they want him to play in this game and they didn't want him to get injured. So there could be something there. I doubt if he was left out just to have a rest on Sunday. 4 days between the two games. I don't care how old you are. You're a professional footballer. It's not like you're playing 2 days later or even 3 days later. So I think that there's a good possibility that he was left out just so he didn't get injured, just to make sure that he is fit and raring to go for tomorrow night. So I'll have a stab that it will be Cavani at 9. So to recap, I think it'll be De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw, McTominay and Fred, Bruno at 10, and then Rashford, Cavani and Pogba. That's what I fancy the team will be. Whatever the team is, I'm desperate for us to get through to this final. We've lost 4 semis over the last 2 seasons, and this is our 5th semi in 2 seasons. So I'm desperate for us to get to the final, and I'd love us to win it, of course, but step by step, I'd take getting to the final for now. In other news, I watched the Champions League game last night. Chelsea won, Real Madrid won. It was a cracking game. Thought Chelsea were the better team for good parts of the game, and a bit unlucky not to lose. Not to win. Took the lead fairly early on, and a fantastic goal by Benzema to get an equaliser. Fantastic goal by Pulisic, in fact, as well, to put Chelsea 1-0 up. So it was a cracking game. I put a tweet up at half time where I spoke about the way Chelsea play, and they play with 3 centre backs and 2 wing backs. Really, they full backs, but they do get forward as much as they can. They had I can't say his name, Aspicaleta at right back, and they started with obviously Chilwell at left back or left wing back. But then they've got 3 centre backs and they've got 2 midfield players that people would probably call CDMs in this day and age. I like calling them central midfield players. They have Jorginho and Kante as 2 central midfield players. So the tweet that I put out that caused quite a bit of a flurry of activity on Twitter, I said in it that United fans are often saying that we're playing with 2 central midfield players to look after the 2 centre backs who haven't got much pace. Now then, this is a Champions League semi-final, and they played similar to this against City, very similar in the FA Cup semi-final. They're playing with 3 centre backs, not 2. They're playing with 3 centre backs. And then they've got 2 holding midfield players. So people are criticising us for having 2 midfield players. Chelsea are playing with 2 midfield players plus the 3 centre backs. You know, and all these different styles of holding midfield players. You know, to compare them to United players. Kante's a little bit like Fred in that he gets around the pitch a lot and gets stuck in and he's quick and he's fit, energetic. But Kante's a miles better player than Fred. But he's still definitely a holding midfield player or a central defensive midfield player. People would say that he's more of a defensive midfield player than anything else. And then they've got Jorginho next to him. And to compare him to a United player, the nearest thing I could think of, maybe not now, but Michael Carrick, you know, he doesn't seem to go running all over the field. He supports the attack, of course he does, but he's calm, gets hold of the ball and keeps it ticking over nice and simple. So there's different styles of central midfield players, but they still got to be together. And what I said, they've got to play as a pair. And what I said on that tweet last night was they've got Kante and Jorginho together as a pair, and they've got 3 centre-backs. We're only playing with 2 centre-backs. I'm going to assume as well, don't forget a lot of people say it's because one of our centre-backs isn't quick. I bet one of Chelsea's out of 3, one of them's got to be quite quick, surely. So not only are they playing with 3 centre-backs, one of them's probably quick, and they're still playing with 2 central defensive midfield players in Kante and Jorginho. So why should we not be playing in a similar manner? Don't get me wrong here, Jorginho and Kante are better players than McTominay and Fred, but they're still doing the same role. And the other thing that I said on there was it's about covering the space on the field. When the opposition have got the ball, and I could put loads of footage up from last night's game, when the opposition have got the ball and they're probing for an opening, you've got to have 2 men in front. Well, when they're probing for an opening, they've got a back 5 because the full-backs are in positions. They've got a back 5 and you've got your 2 holding midfield players just in front. You've got to have that. You can't leave the space. And as I said last night, Kante's probably slightly to the right and Jorginho slightly to the left. If Kante looks to his left and Jorginho's not there, there'll be 35 yards of empty space between Kante and Chilwell. And if Jorginho was to look to his right and Kante's not there, there'd be 35 yards of empty space between him and Azpilicueta, who's playing on the right for Chelsea. So you've just got to fill the space. So it doesn't matter what style of player you are. Just to explain it a tad further, when United won the treble, we played in 4-4-2. We played in 4-4-2. But we didn't win every game. We lost, even in the treble year, I think we lost 3 games all season in the treble year. We didn't win every game, and we drew plenty of games. Your 2 central midfield players have got to fill that space. They've just got to fill that space. So when we're playing with Keane and Scholes, I'm sure people regard Scholes as an attacking midfield player and Keane as a defensive midfield player. What's happened over the years, those descriptions are descriptions of the player's style. Keane's regarded as a defensive midfield player because he's so abrasive, because he's such a good tackler. It's about his style of play. It's not really about the position in which he plays. So Paul Scholes is an attacking midfield player. He's got a great shot on him. He's really skillful. And he does get forward a bit more often. He does get into the box more often. But when defending, he's got to be in position. When the opposition have got the ball, it's probably Keane slightly to the right, it's probably Scholes partly slightly to the left. Same as I've just said about the Chelsea team. If Keane looked to his left and Paul Scholes wasn't 10 or 15 yards away from him, it'd be another 10 or 15 yards to where Ryan Giggs is covering his flank. There'd be a 30-yard gap. You've just got to be there. So this CDM, it's a description of a player's abilities. It's not about the position on the field that you play. Your 2 central midfield players are just central midfield players. If one's regarded as defensive, it's because he's good in the tackle. If one's regarded as attacking, it's because he can shoot and pass and maybe score more often, maybe get forward a little bit more often. But when defending, you've got to be together as a pair. You've got to be together as a pair. You can't just leave massive gaps. So that was something that I put on Twitter last night, and I've just explained it a little bit more in depth. No matter who your centre-backs are, and Chelsea are playing with 3, and out of 3, I won't mind betting one of them's quite quick, and they're still playing with 2, as people want to call them, CDMs. They're just central midfield players. That's all they are. So that was Chelsea Real Madrid last night, 1-1. Chelsea, you would think, have got the upper hand, but they've still got that away leg to come. Real Madrid are capable of getting a goal. If they get a goal, it's back open. The away goal's a right bonus, but Real Madrid have got a chance of scoring 1 surely. So I think it could be a thriller, that return leg next week. And tonight it's City versus PSG. I'm going to watch that one. I don't always watch City's games. I often say that, but I do watch it if I think they've got a tough game on. I don't think, I don't know what PSG's situation is injury-wise and fitness-wise. I don't know what Ander Herrera's fitness-wise is like at the moment, fitness-wise. Usually he keeps himself fit. I've not heard of any injury problems. So I don't know if Ander will start. He's been on the bench in games that I've seen recently. But I'd like to wish Ander Herrera good luck tonight in the game against City. That could be a cracker this evening. I have heard that Mbappe's fit. He was injured at the weekend, but he's fit again. So that should be a good one. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, though. It's United and Roma tomorrow. I've said what I think my team will be. I hope Cavani starts. And if Cavani starts, I think we've got a chance of getting a goal or two. I think it's vital we keep a clean sheet. We've got the home leg first. As I've just said about Chelsea, they've got an away goal in their tie. We don't want an away goal going in against us tomorrow night. I'd take a 1-0 win now if it was offered. So I'm looking forward to that one. I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed it, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.